March 19th. Why, Pat, sitting back there, brought a red rose, a single stem red rose. Remember that, Pat? And my granddaughter, who was with me at the time, said, well, Granddad, let's don't put this rose here because there's oxygen there and everything. It's just her last 2 days. He said, let's take it out and set it at the foot of Mother Mary. And I said, okay, fine, let's do. So my granddaughter and I went down and I first took a single stem vase, filled it with water, put the rose in it, took it down, set it at the feet of Mother Mary, and we knelt down and we said our prayers. And then each day I would go down, and that's where I pray quite often. And I checked it the first week, it was still very fresh. Checked the second week, the rose is just as fresh as the day that I put it there. 6 weeks later, I checked the rose, and it was actually the 43rd day, and it was just as fresh as the day that I put it there. It did not use any water. And the other day, at the anniversary, on the 19th of March, I put another red rose into the same vase, put it down at the foot of Mother Mary. And that now is 57 days. It's right there today, and it's still pretty fresh. Has not used any water. Now, right at the foot of that, just before my wife passed away, I'm a Eucharistic minister, and so I gave her a host each day. And just before she passed away, I was giving her host, I dropped it on the floor. So I had my picks, so I took another one and gave it to her. And I took that and I just put it away, put it back in the picks. And a few days later, I asked Father, what shall I do with this? I dropped it. He said, well, you do two things. Either you consume it or you bury it. Well, at that time, I thought, well, consume it? No, what I'll do is I'll take it down to the statue and bury it at the foot of Mother Mary. So the host is buried there at the foot of Mother Mary, and the rose is between the host and the rose. And by the way, Sister Charlotte, I saw her last year. My son and I, we went around to visit her. And for all of you alumni, she just was as sharp as a tack. And that was just before her 100th birthday. And she was recalling some of the names, like Mary and Donna May, and so many of the alumni. Alumni. She would tell us the names and little stories about them, so little anecdotes. It was very interesting. So Betty's, one of the Woolery's boys, was there on her birthday, took her a cake, and we sent her some flowers. And shortly after she passed away, I thought you'd like to know that. Thank you.
Daughter-in-law of Mr. Lester is Jody Lester, who is one of our best moms here at St. Francis Cabrini School. And his granddaughter, Jessica, this year crowned your St. Mary at the May crowning that they have in their backyard. So the tradition continues, and we thank you for that. One other thing I want to say is there's a First Communion picture. Someone was talking about boys being over there besides George Crombie. The 1953 First Communion picture is the children are in front of Visitation Villa, but they are actually students that would, they did go to Visitation Villa, but the boys too, my sister is in that Visitation Villa First Communion picture with all those boys. Mrs. Staples' son is in there, Mrs. Carell's daughter is in there. And why were they there? But they didn't attend school there.
No, it was about the time, well, it was just before the school here was built.
So that's the connection there. So that's why you see boys in front of Visitation Villa in 1953. And that is when St. Francis Cabrini School started. And I like to believe that we are continuing the tradition started in 1923 in Lakewood of Catholic education here in Lakewood. So one thing I want to end with, this is a wonderful poem, and it's called Lakewood, and it was written by one of the sisters, but I'm not sure which one. Let me get over here and open this up. Excuse me, sorry. This was a book that was printed in 1954 when the sisters had a Jubilee year. And I don't know if any of you have this book. Does anybody have this book? Mary Brennan, of course. Well, it's got a great prayer, or called Lovely Lakewood. And probably the Lakewood historians would love a copy of this.
We've made a copy of that.
Does the Lakewood Historical Society have it?
No, I'm giving it to Cy.
Good plan. The sister wrote, "We greet you, lovely Lakewood land. We love your splendors, all to view. Your towing firs and oak trees grand, encircling lakes of blue. Your brilliant coat of emerald green, your flower-bejeweled meadows too, combine to make a charming scene. O Lakewood, we love you. We joy to see the rising sun, the gorgeous sunsets afterglow, the mountain pride of Washington with its diadem of snow. We love the air recurring round, each season coming when it's due. For all this grandeur we have found, O Lakewood, we love you." And I thought that that was a nice thing to end with. What I am going to say, we just had a wonderful relationship. The sisters were very welcoming to the Holy Name sisters that started our school in 1953. They have wonderful memories, both in the Chronicles of the Sisters of the Holy Names and the Visitation Villa Sisters. They're fun to read, and we do have copies of that. The memorabilia that is around, everyone is welcome to look at. We do have coffee and tea and cookies left, and feel free to mingle and visit, and thank you for coming, and I'm giving this back to Cy now, so he can say the final thank yous.
Well, this is the moment we've been waiting for. You can go home now. But I think we'd like to see some of the artifacts that are here. So we'll just say good night.
Excuse me.
Now, what is this today?
No more frogs. No more We live on Lexington, right behind Park Lodge and down the block. See, and we used to hear the frogs all the time. But you don't hear them anymore. No, you hear them from Stiligan. You know, my son, you've heard of the university in Lakewood, off the end of the Coven?
Yes.
My son lives in the house that the headmaster lives in. Yeah, boys' school. Yeah. My son had a fella stop in. He said the guy looked like he was 100 years old. Wanted to know if he could show his friend the fireplace where they used to roast marshmallows.
This must
Still
be.
the original fireplace.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah.